again.
You too.
Was very excited when I heard you were going to be my partner for this video.
Well, thank you.
And the first thing that came to mind was, what was I doing pre-pandemic? Last time I saw you, so it's pretty good that after 2.5 years, we're back to actually see each other.
Yes, we had a lot of events, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I want to start this off by asking you a question.
Great.
Because you are in retail, you're very close to the clients. What have you been seeing? I guess, from the pandemic period to where it is right now.
Yes. Well, it's been picking up. Definitely foot traffic has been very exciting lately. I have to say, ever since
good to hear.
Summer. So that third, was it, lockdown that happened, or when
right.
people locked themselves down?
Yes,
exactly. The last variant. Then when that got out of the way, everyone was in the mood to go out, and that's actually what our campaign was about that season.
Okay.
About going out and living life and just blossoming and living life to the fullest. But people have been coming back to the store, and they're buying different things now. So depending.
Oh, tell me about that. Tell me about that. What have they been buying, and are you seeing these are items that they would call investments when they buy them?
Sure, I think so. I mean, I think everything that we have here at Rustan's is an investment.
That's right.
And it's not about price. It's really about value for us and what you cherish, and that sort of connection.
That's emotional value. It's actually, to some extent, really priceless as far as those people are actually.
And it's not really like, it can be the fabric, the way it's made. We have a lot of stories behind the brands here about how things are put together and what goes into it.
Oh,
but
wow.
I'll get to that. But I wanted to tell you about the buying behavior, because I wanted to check how it was also in the other parts of the world. But here it was like, when we were at home, people bought things that wherever the customer was, that's what they invested in. So we saw our home decor and kitchen. People were investing in luxury statement pieces, dinnerware,
that's right.
Silverware.
There was a lot of interest around dinnerware.
Oh, really? Yeah. And then even appliances, like people learned to cook. So they bought really expensive coffee machines, cookware, all around, linens, basta home, and then skincare. You invest in your
that wasn't
health.
Something you couldn't give up, right? I mean, you were inside the home, you weren't going out, but hey, you still wake up in the morning. You want to make sure you're looking,
and that's
glowy,
healthy.
And that's healthy.
It goes in and comes back out. So, I mean, based on your outlook of the whole economy, did that sort of translate? What was it like?
Great
on
question.
your end?
I'm going to pick up from your point, Dina, about how the consumers are behaving. Because the markets, investing in the markets, looking at the, equities and all of these other traditional asset products. It's really about the customer. It follows, it expresses the views based on how customers and consumption is actually happening in the world. So in the Philippines, in the world, etc. And because you mentioned that about the raw materials that go into the products, etc.
Yes.
That's about.
So it's connected.
That's all connected, because at the end of the day, who sells these things, right? And the seller, the companies that produce them, they have to generate revenue. They have to generate income. And if they are in fact seeing the movement of such products happening, then that goes straight to their bottom line, and that will be a critical decision for investing.
Yeah. Throughout the whole pandemic, the luxury brands did not see as big of a dip in sales. I think it stayed the same, if not got even better.
That's interesting.
Yes, especially the well-known brands.
Okay, I was going to ask you, were there specific names that are there specific names you'd like to share?
Our jewelry brands, Mont Blanc, Lalique, Liadro. I know Hermes did well too. Tiffany and Co. I know those all did well. La Prairie as a skincare brand.
Oh my!
Did even better, because we launched this personal shopper service.
That's right.
So you didn't have to step foot in the store to go shopping. You know, they
okay.
take pictures for you. So when you add on that extra service to our type of customer,
Oh,
the
wow.
more
It's
now
just
they still
so
use
convenient.
it. They still use it. So
Exactly,
it was like an
exactly.
added channel for us instead of it being like at first it was like a band-aid, or I mean, we've always had personal shoppers, but we automated everything.
Yeah.
So it also sped up our automation and everything. This whole
I
pandemic.
think that's exactly what transpired. No, we saw, and since you asked me this earlier, how it all connects. That whole scenario of, digital servicing
Yes.
and just staying at home, but you can still shop, etc. That's exactly where the world is
Yeah.
going, right?
That's
So
another
technology,
thing.
no,
Yeah.
technology became an important choice. It's a sector that had a lot of attention from investors worldwide. But because that had transpired during the pandemic, the behavior was very different now. Now
Yes.
that there's more mobility, and I guess that's what my next question will be for you.
Yeah, I was gonna get into that.
Pretty clear on where things were during the time
Right.
at the height of the pandemic. Where is it going now?
Yeah.
What did you notice coming into 2022, for
Yeah,
example?
so I've noticed that, as I said, people are going back out. Our fashion sales, which were low during the time of
Yeah.
the pandemic,
Yeah.
are now picking up. It's beating targets. It's a good thing that the people in the merchandising team invested
Yeah.
in the supply of that, because now at least it's getting ubos. It's getting finished. So
Wow.
fashion brands, it's
Right.
people are looking
Right.
for things that are new. Office, I mean, people never thought office wear would,
Will come
would
back
ever
again.
come back, right?
Yes, that's right.
So
That's right.
now it is things dressy. Like we were one of the few that still had gowns during the time.
Oh.
So now they're when you have to go to a wedding, you go to Rustan.
That's right,
So we
that's
still
right.
have our ball gown section.
Very
And
interesting.
then,
So a lot of fashion.
everyone wants to go out. Like I was thinking, I'm sick of my clothes. You see it every day, and then you kind of active wear, exercise clothes is still high, but that was really big during the pandemic. But
Yeah.
now we're
You're seeing it kind of stabilize into more
other
normal.
fashion,
Yeah,
like
that's
clothes,
right.
apparel itself, and what else? Shoes that weren't. Now it's starting to really pick up. People need new shoes.
Very
purses.
interesting. You mentioned about the shoes because I was just speaking to somebody today,
Yes.
and she was saying that she was so surprised that her size
Yes.
has actually grown for some reason,
Oh.
and now she's so sad because she couldn't wear all the shoes that she used to own, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's.
And
a
are you
reason
back
to
in the
shop.
office?
Kind of. We're
Yes,
still in a-
hybrid.
hybrid kind
Yes.
of arrangement,
Yeah.
and
So it's
and,
exactly like that. It's
and
hybrid shopping
hybrid
too.
shop, and
Yeah.
in fact, we're being led by the customers as well.
Yes.
I mean, our clients would be the ones to tell us, "No, I'm still not comfortable
That's
to
right.
meet." But there are
Yeah.
those who actually say, "I want to meet you face to face." So we offered to see them right in the office or
Yeah.
wherever is the
Yeah.
location that would be great for them.
That's a really good insight. That's kind of, I guess, how we also see everything is we're being led by the customer. So
Exactly.
one of
Exactly.
our president and our CEO always believes just do whatever the customers are doing. You'll never go wrong.
Exactly.
So-
Just going back now to if those brands that are more about homeware, dinnerware,
Yes.
and all of that, skincare
Yes.
and all of that. Where was it moving when the mobility started to become more available and the customers were really going out and
Interesting enough, it didn't really dip. I mean, it hasn't dipped. People are still buying. But let me think more about that. Maybe what it is they're fixing their homes, so they're refreshing things now. So sheets. We have a bed display right now. Luxury beds.
Okay. So we'll be checking that out later.
We have a
Very
luxury
good.
bed display, and I mean the materials of these beds. They're really like 1 million. They're millions of an investment, but it's an investment in sleep.
Whoa,
and
it's like-
health.
oh, wow.
And so it's made out of. I have to double check, but it's made out of material that it's handmade. I have to double check on that material, but
Yeah.
it's like millions for a bed. 3 million.
Oh my gosh.
3 million.
Oh my
And
gosh.
people buy it. It's worth it.
What's your read? What's your read in that kind of behavior? What is it that they attach to it as the value and look at that as an investment?
Well, definitely health has. I think everyone has found like health is wealth is not just like a cliche. It's really a huge investment that you need to make so that you don't, I guess, spend on hospital bills later on.
Exactly.
You feel better, and then when you feel better, you do better business. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, they're probably energized after coming off from sleeping.
Yeah. It's really important.
Like,
and even the thread count of the bed sheets.
Oh, wow.
So people are building their beds and their homes. It's all part of one look. That's all part of your lifestyle, right? So they're investing in their lifestyle.
And that sleep probably like...
But they're buying new home. Like how's the other markets?
You know, that
real
whole...
estate.
Yeah, the way that you had described it, that was pretty much what was the behavior globally. And of course, closer to home, right? But as the mobility has lifted, we really saw consumption increasing, right?
Yeah.
Consumption, they prevented themselves from shopping a certain way, but now they're coming back with a vengeance.
Yes, revenge shopping is real.
Right? And I think, you know, it all connects to how they look at their homes, that it is part of...
That's probably why it's still okay, the home sales, because they're still furnishing all their
They're still furnishing, or they're changing the look of it. It's probably because they're expressing that they're back to new life.
Yes.
You know, with the lifting of the quarantines and etc. And I guess more importantly is they're going back to traveling. So that whole activity of traveling exposes them to what's happening around the world. So when they come back, they will look for these things, right? And they want to feel it, they want to extend the experience. They don't know when the next travel will be happening, I guess.
Yeah.
But what has been jumping out to investors, right? Those that have been watching the markets, like ATRAM Trust Corporation, we're really seeing that because of consumption, there is a rise in inflation, which is expected, right? This is something that's been expected coming into 2022. And as we're seeing that, what was not expected for us is the crisis that the Ukraine and Russia created, right? So that had an implication on availability of commodities, right? Commodities, oil, I mean, obviously, they now say, I'm going to bring you out on a date, let's stay in the car, let's just gas up. Pretty much.
That's all the budget.
Because it's like going through the roof.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing now. I guess now I'll round it out to come back to this question with you. With this situation that inflation is impacting the prices of goods, etc., are you seeing that now in retail? I mean, are you feeling that crunch on the raw material supply?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely, I think so. And it kind of becomes a customer service issue because people are looking for things.
Right.
And it's not that we didn't prepare for that demand. It's just that the supply chain has really been disrupted globally. So not even just like the actual ship, but it's like the materials. They don't have enough materials that they can source. Collections for luxury brands have to delay. So, you know, like they're expecting the manufacturing plant to release this item, this collection, but
there you go.
There's one material that you know didn't make it.
Exactly.
So
logistics,
really,
supply,
logistics has been interrupted.
Yeah. Correct.
And but it's getting better. It's getting better. People are getting used to preparing for crisis, I guess.
Yes.
But
we adapt, right?
Yes, we adapt.
Okay.
And then of course on top of that, the actual shipment, and you know that gets delayed sometimes.
That's right. I have now an interesting question for you, because we're seeing this happening already. There are more and more young people getting into investing. And I want to see. I mean, I want to get your insights on that from a retail perspective. And then I'll share in a bit. how we're seeing them as
Yes, great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear that. But when you say young, I actually think of two groups.
Okay.
So there's the group that's young and starting to invest and thinking about building their future. And how I think luxury brands answer that is they see what's trendy, and then they get like entry level. Actually, my nail polish is Hermes. So, but
Oh,
you
there
can
you
have
go.
you can have Hermes on your nail. So that's how you
Exactly.
start to. It's not
Right.
really like an investment forever, but that's how you start to interact with these
With the
brands.
brands.
But
Right.
that's what these brands really invest in so much, is like with the brand building and learning the customer. So then they build products for them, and then later on you end up with this emotional connection, and you have a bag now, and later on it's going to be an Hermes bag.
That's right.
That you pass on to your daughter. And then
Yeah.
I was thinking also that there's this other group of they become more mature. Like millennials are getting a bit, like they have kids now. They're not the old, when we used to talk about
Right.
millennials, they're so young. There's
Right.
already Gen Z.
Right.
But they're already, I think, starting to put value in these like these traditional brans. Maybe that-
Exactly,
So
exactly.
like you have plate sets now that you want. Me, for example, I want I want a Bernardo set. I'm gonna save up for it. I want bed sheets that can last forever. I want
That's right.
clothes that I don't throw away.
That's right.
I want shoes that don't make my feet hurt. And then jewelry. Jewelry is, I think, the most relevant. I mean, the most related to an actual. Like I was telling you
Yeah.
earlier that
Yeah.
Mont Blanc has this high artistry collection
Oh,
where it's
okay.
art and jewelry in a pen. So it's like it's
That
a
sounds
huge
beautiful.
investment. They don't market it. You have to be invited to buy.
Invited. Wow.
To spend.
So that in
Yeah.
itself already limits the supply, right?
Yes.
And that's how
Yeah.
the whole demand and supply concept is
yeah.
really what
Yeah.
investment is all about.
I guess it's
right?
about how rare it is when it's luxury goods. Yeah. So I wanted to see what you were gonna say about
Okay.
about how you see young people
Exactly.
investing.
The way that all this crypto discussion and this NFT discussion is all about, I mean, the core of it is really about supply and demand, right, Dina? So it's about they know it's limited, and because there's a lot of demand that's created for it,
Oh, there.
the price
Yeah.
picks up, right?
Okay.
And in the same way, the traditional market of equities and bonds are exactly the same thing. If there's a desire for something, and that's where everybody's going to go, right? So you kind of anticipate that, and that is pretty much led by the end consumer.
Yes.
Where is that consumer going to patronize all of the products, and it goes back to the clients, etc. The only thing that is now a particular headwind, and this is something that ATRAM as a company, because we are professional portfolio managers, we really take care of the money of the clients, in the sense that they're not alone and left alone to make decisions on choices of funds and all of that. We take care of that responsibility, and we're able to do the technical analysis, the research, etc., and execute those views into the portfolio of the clients. So what we've been doing is really watching very, very clearly how all of this inflation is a headwind to the investor, right? And it actually begs the question of, okay, which part of the world, which geography, which sector will be able to respond and position you for the possibility of the best
Okay.
gains and performance going forward.
How can you tell what that is?
Because a lot of it is actually about knowing the last 30 years and the last 40 years. And it's about, it's really about understanding in periods of crisis, when oil is driven up in price, at what point will it go down, for example? I'll just elaborate on this a little bit.
Yes, please.
So for example, oil reaches a certain amount in dollars per barrel,
Okay.
right? And that now, when it's consumed, it will mean that it will end up in the way prices are for you know, how you gas up, right? How you travel and fly, because the airlines will not be able to sustain that without increasing the price. So at some point, that peak of the price, that's bound to come down. Why? Consumer. The consumer will say, I don't want to travel. I'll postpone it.
Yeah.
Because the ticket prices are just, it's not reasonable for me anymore. And then the ones who are, oh, I'll go out of town, you know, every weekend, but then they realize, oh, there's just too much to spend on. I'm going to postpone that as well. So their behavior will actually change, which means if the demand lessens, then there will be more supply, right?
Yeah.
And if there's no one buying it in the same levels, the prices will go.
You go and sale.
Yes,
or
right.
Yeah.
So you will delay certain decisions, which will actually influence the whole demand and supply dynamics, and that's what we look at. Right.
Yeah.
So when you say how can you tell how the future is going to operate, you will have to read all of this data, and you will have to do the technical analysis, and then you will have to also, you know, rely on your historical experience, and all of that combined is what is placed in professional portfolio management. And what we do is really not focus just on a particular set of assets for the client. We are believers of diversification, which is why I find your side very interesting, because in our minds, brands like the ones you mentioned, that's part of diversifying.
Okay.
I mean, right?
Yes.
When you have, when you spend your money and you spend certain big amounts on it, and you are able to actually put the value on that particular piece that you buy, whether it's an Hermes bag or a watch that is something that you've been saving up for, and pretty considerable price. There is something that is about the long term on that you've attached, right? And that part becomes what we would call an alternative investment. Right?
Yes.
You are, in fact, diversifying your portfolio.
And you can resell it. And
you
that's
can
the
resell
thing
it.
about these brands and what they're made with is they appreciate and value.
Exactly.
Whether it's because of the brand or the materials, or they, you can like jewelry. The olden days, right? They say when there's war, keep your jewelry so you can sell it for cash.
Exactly.
Because it appreciates.
And guess what? When the US dollar was like going down in value during the pandemic, gold was going up in value.
Yes.
Right?
I heard that.
Exactly, right? So, and when the Ukraine and Russia war started, for example, that immediately got clients or, investors moving into precious metals like gold. So that's all part of the way that these are all intertwined.
It's good to understand how and why those that the value is driven by that.
Because because it's really all about that whole demand-supply relationship and dynamics, right?
Earlier, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Earlier, you said something about things catching headwinds. Can you elaborate?
Yes. Headwinds are really, so there are tailwinds and headwinds.
Yes.
So to put it simply, when you hear that for investors, these are the headwinds, these are the challenges. No, these are the hurdles that are in front of them.
Okay.
And because it's there, you have your move forward, and the decisions you have to make is always in consideration of what's blocking the way.
Okay.
Right? That's the headwind. A tailwind is what's pushing it forward. So it's something that's positive, right? So it's a tailwind because it's pushing you forward and making things a lot more
so you
easier.
can create the demand.
Right,
the
exactly.
tailwind. Okay.
Exactly. Now, what is a very clear headwind at this time? When there is inflation, it means that central banks, right, will put a policy towards increasing rates because that's their way of ensuring that they can balance off whatever is happening going forward, right? The increase in prices means there's more cash in the market that's going out.
Right.
And whenever they say, okay, we're going to raise rates, that means they're encouraging you to please put some of the cash back into the bank, right? Into investments and so on and so forth. They're kind of sweeping away the cash, right? They're sweeping it back into the the financial institutions so that it does not keep pushing the prices up. But that is a very,
So that's what they're
very, very delicate balancing act. The whole world is still struggling with that. There's runaway inflation that's being seen in developed markets, US in particular. I think about 3 weeks ago, they have announced an 8.9% inflation rate, and that's
And
also
everyone's
why,
expecting it.
and that's also why 2 weeks ago there was a 75 bips increase in the rates, which is like never heard of for, I don't know, 13 years or so. I mean, since the financial crisis. So it's like really, it's been a pretty worrisome period and a headwind in particular for that. And that's what we need to watch as portfolio managers. So there you go. Okay, I now want to ask particularly about the artworks that you mentioned are now coming into, this very, very good names, very good brands, artwork combined with the traditional way that they execute. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So there's a few ways that the brands have, sort of answered that demand, because customers really look for art. There's collaborations. In Rustan's, we have this collaboration called Rustan's for the Arts. And there's one right now with Arturo Luz. We just launched it. So we have these names and they create pieces and we sell them here. But there was one where it's a collaboration between works of Anita Magsaysay and they placed it on plates, Bernardo plates. So it's an
Very
art piece all on itself. The one I mentioned earlier, Mont Blanc, is they get artisans or artists, but not the ones that paint. They're really there for Mont Blanc to create pieces that they sell in the high artistry collection. So one of the examples is they'll have a theme. Like the last one was the Great Wall of China. So this pen has it's made with the barrel will be sort of reflective of the wall.
Ooh, wow.
And then it'll be the end
beautiful.
of the pen, will be like the bamboo that they use in the ancient times to write with.
Very interesting.
So then, of course, there's jewel and gold on it. And it's just every part has a story. Storytelling is a huge part of how we sell investments here.
Very interesting.
That's how we capture everyone. It's really through emotion and meaning.
Right. So art collaborations is becoming a real trend.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, art collaboration. So artists are asked to design something, and then both of their brands on it. The artist name, and then the brand name.
Beautiful. Is there an impetus to why this has started? Is this something that you saw even pre-pandemic, and you think that it can be sustained going forward?
Yeah. Well, collaborations have always been sort of like, I think in the past, ever since I've been working in marketing, it's been, but more so now because of the crossover of brands. So there are mainstream brands that, I'm jumping from the artist itself, but collaboration itself, there are mainstream brands that partner with luxury brands. Right. And that's okay. I mean, that's actually makes it more valuable.
I've been seeing a lot of those.
So brands that normally would compete for different markets are now branding together.
That's right.
That's interesting. That happened,
because
they just have to help each other maybe, and it's become. They also target a different market. They target a younger market when they collaborate with a different type of brand. But going back to the artist collaborations, I think for Rustan's, artists have always been supported by the brand itself. Our foundress, Glyceria, was a patron. Like she loved the art.
Patron of the arts.
She believed that Filipinos, in particular, were very talented, and she wanted to showcase that to a different market than maybe that they had the opportunities to present it to. So she had a gallery here.
Yeah.
She had Filipiniana that she went to the communities, and then she, so there's different kinds of artists. So I think it's more that we really love artists and we want to collaborate with them.
Arts and artwork, those are alternative investments.
Yes.
So it's really about a diversification. So the whole concept of diversification, I believe, is really a very, very powerful concept for investors in general. So when they have these tangible assets, they buy the artwork, they buy these luxurious brands and those names, and they really look at them as something for the long term, something that they can leave with daughters and sons, and that's part of the whole value of diversification for them. Definitely.
Connecting
jewelry would be another one. So that's really all part of it. So it's never about you're choosing where to put your money. What we're seeing really from investors and from our clients is that all of these have a role to play in their whole wealth and their whole estate. It makes sense for them. It actually keeps their portfolios resilient. And that's also how we start thinking when we take care of them, right? Even in their portfolios in ATRAM, they don't just have equities and bonds, for example, globally and locally, but they also have specifically what we call alternatives, which means that we bring them investments in commodities, investments in oil, investments in gold. And that's not necessarily something that investors are able to access so easily in the Philippines. I mean, you will have to usually bring them out, have your private bank relationships offshore and all of that. But I'm just sharing now, Dina, that kind of service and that kind of exposure to portfolios, that is available now in the Philippines.
Great.
Yes. And because of it, those kinds of portfolios, highly diversified and with full understanding of even ownerships of such tangible assets, this is something that we've kind of perfected in our expertise, right? So if this is something, I think, I'm now trying to, kind of invite you. If this is something you want to know more about, I'd be so happy to take care of you. We have a lot of female clients, and I think it's really because they appreciate that kind of nurturing and education on investing and really looking at things from a more, a more diversified perspective. You're not just after the yield, but there's an understanding of value. Exactly. And I think as a last point, I'd like to ask you, what are the most important luxury brands now in your portfolio of brands in Rustan's? And I think I personally want to know this because, as I said, this is important information that we even bring into our conversations with our clients.
Oh, are you ready? I'm going to sit here for a long time and list down. Well, I think that we have, Rustan's is we watch over brands, but we also invite brands to sell with us.
That's right.
So they're all important. And I think that the ones that I can think of right now that really drive the traffic and the demand. I mentioned Mont Blanc earlier. That's important. It has its own segment, but they're also diversifying. They're trying, not only is it for businessmen, it's now for women, for watches, leather for fashion. Parang everyone's trying to diversify and reach more markets. Longchamp is also known as just an everyday bag, but now they're going up. Like they're more of a luxury bag brand. And then even let's say in the skincare and makeup, that's a huge driver of consumers for us. So La Prairie, La Mer, Estee Lauder, Clinique, your favorite brands are all there. MAC even, and all. It really brings us the younger customer. So they're great, exciting brands to have. And then if you go up like fashion, we have Natori, so it's like an investment in your loungewear. But even she's diversifying. She's known for certain things, but she has evening, she has ready to wear. Then our Tadashi.
Oh, I love Tadashi.
Yes,
Your gowns.
the gowns.
Right.
What else we have then?
And the homeware.
Homeware, Lalique, Liadro, Bernardo. And then we're also inviting local brands, so we'll be launching that at the end of the year. So Ugo is an artisan in like Batangas or something like that.
Wow, that's exciting.
Plates. Yes.
That's exciting.
And luxury, like really well made, handmade.
Right.
And what else? Then we have our SSI brands that are like, they always bring people. Gucci, Christian Louboutin is with us, but YSL.
Right.
They're all important. Hugo Boss.
That's right. That's right. There you go.
So I think that's actually what Rustan's does. There's not like, we have to choose for the customer so that when you come here, it's like easy.
You're responding to everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
And choose the traffic drivers.
Exactly.
So that it's easy to just go. And then we just try our best to put service on that so that it makes it even easier. So
fantastic.
Everybody loves our sales ladies.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I guess this is the reason why this year is going to be your
70th. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, it's our 70th year this year, and we are changing the beauty area, so we're renovating. So watch out for that.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
There's new brands coming in, and then renovation that I think will be very nice.
And something opens. To look forward to this year.
Definitely. So that's basically our story. Definitely. And then we have our online, which is picked up.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. And on that note, I think we've covered really the range of what people would usually say investments in different emotions and different values, etc. But at the end of the day, the consumer is at the center of both our businesses, and that's the reason why investing is all about your personal setting of values. Right, Dina?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marcy.
Thank you. Thank you also. Thank you so much for inviting me. Once again, in Rustan's, I think I will have to admit this is my first visit to Rustan's in 2.5 years. But I did not forget Rustan's over the pandemic
period.
And so happy to be back.
Thank you, Marcy, for coming here. But I'd still like you to, I want to invite you to still look around and maybe I can show you exactly what I was talking about.
Okay, I would love to see that.
Thank you for coming, though. We really, really enjoyed having you here.
Thank you.
Thank
Excited
you to
go around.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.